You see, there's no artist, let me be clear, there's no artist in this industry that's doing major numbers with these platforms that haven't sold their soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's a lot of things. She's spectacular, actually.
Yes.
And congratulations on new mamahood.
Yes.
See, this is the thing. Everything that I'm about to say to you is not my firsthand knowledge. It is my firsthand witness account experience. I was a sex worker. I was a record deal. That's how I know how the dark world and the sex world and the entertainment world run hand in hand. The sex workers that I have worked with throughout the years and continue to work with even to this day have worn hidden cameras. I have my own tapes. I've seen what they do. The ritualistic behaviors, the drinking, putting girls in a suitcase on before Diddy.
So get this. Rihanna just had her third baby, and instead of laying low, she's already stirring the pot. And it's not just any random drama. She's pointing fingers at Beyoncé, of all people.
Your audition with Jay-Z. Tell me what he said to you.
A really good audition.
Yes.
But before I met him, I was so nervous. I was shaking literally. But the moment I walked into the office, the atmosphere was so warm and welcoming.
You had to sing a cappella for him?
Yes, I had to sing. I sang Fun to Replay. I sang another ballad from the album last time.
So then what did he say to you? He said something to you.
Oh yes, he said, we don't sing songs here, we sing artists. And there was this little pause, and I was nervous. But then he said, and we're interested. And there was this sudden feel of relief.
But then he said something about a window and a door.
Oh, then he said, he said it whole word.
I did a lot of work on you, Miss Lady.
He said, there are two ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal sign or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
So you was like, where's the pen? Where's the paper? I'm signing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure working with Jay-Z, you've met Beyoncé.
That's right.
How was it like meeting her?
I could not speak.
Really?
Really. That's someone I really looked up to for a long time. And it was after one of my showcases, and he was introducing me to everyone from the label. Then he finally said, okay, one more person. And there she was. And I could not speak.
And she gave you some advice.
Yes, she did. She just told me to, when I get on stage, let loose, have fun, and be in control.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to let it go.
No.
Because, she'd be like, what?
According to what's been coming out, Rihanna is finally letting folks in on what's been happening behind the scenes for years.
Is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate, and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he had to. He won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him come to a house.
Yeah, she actually wrote me this cute little letter, and she signed it with her autograph. It was so cute. When I first met her, and she wrote, she was telling me, just let loose when you perform and just have fun and be in control.
Their relationship turns out the sweet image Beyoncé projects to the public might just be covering up a whole different side of her, and Rihanna's not keeping quiet anymore. A lot of fans have always been puzzled why Rihanna and Beyoncé never collaborated, especially when they were both tied to Jay-Z and had similar come-ups. You'd think a song between two powerhouse queens would have happened by now. But apparently, there's a deep reason behind it, and it's darker than anyone thought. It's not just some music industry politics. It's personal and it's messy. Rihanna allegedly dealt with some seriously twisted situations early in her career, starting with Jay-Z. She says that when she was just 17, he locked her in his office during her audition, and she didn't get to leave until she agreed to sign that alone. Sounds sketchy enough, but it doesn't stop there. Reports say Jay was making unwanted advances at her even back then. And when Rihanna tried to find support, she turned to Beyoncé. She thought Bey would be the big sister figure she needed. Instead, she claimed she got betrayal. Allegedly, Beyoncé wasn't just dismissive. She tried to pull Rihanna into the same wild inner circle she and Jay were part of. And that's where things get downright disturbing. Rihanna apparently found herself being pressured to attend private parties hosted by Diddy and attended by a very select, very elite group. She says Beyoncé was right there, not as an innocent bystander, but as someone actively involved. That was the final straw for Rihanna. She realized she wasn't safe, and she definitely wasn't among friends. Now, here's where it gets real wild. There's this story floating around that goes way back to Diddy's old MTV show, Making the...
You know, when you're early in your career, you feel that you have to listen. And when you buck, they buck hard.
He has so much in his mind that I almost feel lucky for him that he has music.
The world knows who Beyoncé is, but something about that moment felt off. He described the vibe as strange. Not aggressive, but not normal either. It was as if there was something more going on, something unspoken. And now that other stories are surfacing, people are wondering if that was one of those infamous freak-off nights. Jaguar Wright, never one to hold her tongue, has been calling this stuff out for years. She's labeled those parties as twisted, saying big-name celebs go there to do things that would make most people sick, according to her. Beyoncé and Jay were never just casual attendees. They were deep in it. And if the rumors are true, those gatherings weren't just for fun. They were used as leverage, traps, or worse, initiation rituals. And when someone refused to play along, Rihanna allegedly did, they got frozen out or sabotaged. The sabotage theory doesn't sound so crazy when you look at what happened to Rihanna's Anti album. It leaked early on Tidal, forcing an unexpected release and tanking the initial numbers. That same week, Beyoncé's team rolled out full promo for Lemonade, which went on to dominate. It didn't feel like coincidence. It felt strategic. Rihanna's fans were livid, and the press conference photos from Tidal's event didn't help either. Rihanna and Beyoncé kept their distance. No eye contact, no smiles, just stiff energy, and tension thick enough to cut through the beehive. Always had explanations, but now, even some of Beyoncé's die-hard fans are starting to question things. Why would she stay so close to Diddy if these disturbing rumors about him were circling for years? Why didn't she ever speak out, especially with all the movements that have unfolded around abuse, power, and accountability in the industry? When there's that cheesecake story, again, Freddie P's interview painted Beyoncé as someone who didn't just tolerate exploitation, she allegedly initiated it. Imagine that, a superstar telling Diddy to make his group members walk hours just to satisfy a craving. And when they returned, no thanks, no sympathy, just silence. As she enjoyed her dessert while their dignity was broadcast for laughs. What's becoming more clear is that people are piecing things together, and they're starting to see Beyoncé not just as an artist or a brand, but as a player in something much murkier. That wholesome image, that queen-like persona, it's cracking. Rihanna, whether intentionally or not, is at the center of that unraveling. Not as a hater, but as someone who saw too much, got hurt, and decided to speak when it mattered. This isn't just celebrity gossip anymore. It's a larger question about power, silence, and complicity. And if these stories keep gaining traction, we might be looking at the beginning of a serious reckoning for the Carter dynasty. Rihanna's silence over the years was never about keeping the peace. It was survival. She knew what speaking out could cost her, and considering how many careers seemed to vanish after crossing the wrong people, banned. Remember when he made those poor boys walk for hours just to get a cheesecake? Became a meme moment. But nobody really questioned it too deeply. Well, years later, Freddie P, one of the guys from that group, dropped a bomb. He said the cheesecake wasn't even for Diddy, it was for Beyoncé. Yep, apparently she was upstairs chilling the whole time while these guys were being humiliated on TV. And get this, she supposedly told Diddy to make them walk instead of drive. When Freddie told that story, folks were shocked, not just because it put Beyoncé in a bad light, but because it made them look back at a lot of stuff that didn't make sense before. Like, why was Diddy going so hard just to impress Beyoncé? What kind of relationship did they really have? And if Beyoncé really sat there while young men were being publicly embarrassed just to fulfill a dessert craving, that's next level shady. Fast forward to now, and Rihanna is done keeping secrets. She's made it clear that she never felt protected. Not by Beyoncé, not by Jay, and definitely not by the people running the industry. That's one of the reasons she pulled back from music. She didn't want to be part of the same system that tried to trap her, especially after she says they tried to sabotage her anti-album when she refused to play along. And when you realize that Tidal, the platform that accidentally leaked her album, is owned by, you guessed it, Jay and Beyoncé, the pieces really start clicking together. Jay-Z and Beyoncé may have built an empire, but according to the whispers, getting louder every day, that empire came with a cost. And Rihanna wasn't the only one who saw the ugly side of it. When DaBaby opened up about a private party at Diddy's house, his story added even more fuel to the fight. This wasn't just some industry gathering. It was exclusive, secretive, and way too intimate. Diddy had apparently kicked most guests out, but kept about 15 people inside, including Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and DaBaby himself. What stood out wasn't just the company, it was Beyoncé's behavior. DaBaby said she introduced herself to him like a regular person, even though everyone in the new venture, the industry, she played it smart. But now that she's solidified her legacy and built an empire outside of music, she's no longer afraid. With Fenty booming and her fans riding hard for her, Rihanna has the freedom to finally pull the curtain back, and people are listening. One of the biggest red flags people point to is the way Rihanna's relationship with Beyoncé shifted once she started blowing up. At first, there was love, even admiration. She even had a signed note from her that encouraged her to let loose and take control on stage. But somewhere along the way, that admiration faded. Not because of competition, but because of betrayal. Rihanna saw what went on behind closed doors. She saw the pressure, the manipulation, the politics. And worse, she says she saw Beyoncé standing by while it all happened, sometimes even pushing it forward. The track that really drew a line in the sand was Beyoncé's Bow Down. On the surface, it was just another flex anthem, but to Rihanna, it felt like a direct shot. Here was the same woman who built her brand on female empowerment, suddenly turning around and telling girls to bow down. Rihanna wasn't having it. She threw her own shade on Twitter, posting an article crowning her the UK's Queen of Pop, with a spicy caption, "I only know how to be number one. I could use a challenge. How'd it feel down there on your knees?" Fans saw it for what it was, war. Then there's the issue of Jay-Z. Rihanna never outright said what happened between them, but she's hinted enough for people to connect the dots that moment in Jay's office, where he allegedly told her she could leave through the door or the window.
Creepy.
Add in the fact that she was still a teenager, and it becomes downright disturbing. And what made it worse was that Beyoncé knew she wasn't some outsider looking in. She was right there. Yet instead of protecting Rihanna, she allegedly tried to bring her deeper into that same toxic world. That's why many people believe Rihanna dipped out of music entirely. She had seen too much, lived through too much, and wanted no part of it anymore. The industry that made her a star also tried to break her. And when she finally said no, they hit her where it hurt. Her music. That anti-album leak wasn't some random glitch. It was sabotage, and everyone knew it.
The fact that it leaked from a platform owned by Beyoncé and Jay only made it worse. Now, as more stories come to light, people are reevaluating everything they thought they knew. The carefully crafted images, the flawless branding, the power couple narrative, it all starts to look hollow when you hear how many people were stepped on behind the scenes to keep that empire intact. Rihanna, on the other hand, doesn't need that world anymore. She's built her own, and by choosing to speak out, she's giving a voice to the experiences so many others were forced to swallow in silence. Whether Beyoncé ever responds or not doesn't even matter at this point. The story is out there. The dots are connecting, and fans are starting to see the picture clearly. One that might just change how they view their so-called idols forever.